Well, hey folks, it's your favorite YouTube hack, King Waspinator. Welcome back to Total Party Skills. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. I got a few hot comments on one of my Marvel videos last night that I woke up to see, and at least one of them deserves a little bit of a video of its own. It basically frames around the question of why would you stop and make stats for an NPC in the middle of the game? Now, this is actually like an old subject about whether or not it's cool, quote unquote, for DMs, GMs, narrators, whatever, to kind of just fudge things. And to a degree, there are times, a lot of times, where you're going to need to, because at least in my mind, I prioritize keeping the forward momentum of a game session going as being higher than perfect rules accuracy if it means dragging the game down to have to stop and make too many rules references and stuff, having to put everything on pause and kind of get people out of the mind zone they are in. It's real easy for like an imaginary landscape to collapse on you, sort of a thing. You know, you start thinking about other shit, players start talking with each other about things that aren't related to the game, and before you know it, you have to like practically like restart everything. You know, it's like you let your car idle too long and it shut off, kind of a thing. And the ability to fudge NPC stats and other various things on the fly is very much a skill that a dungeon master, game master, whatever, does have to employ. However, you should not rely on that too much, and as much as you can keep your improvisation within the actual parameters of the rule system, the better, because there is also another angle to that. It's the fact that you are a fair arbiter of the rules is like one of the major like top three functions of being a GM is you're supposed to be able to be seen as the players as someone who is being fair about judging how things resolve, and improvising and making things up too much, especially in terms of the NPCs, is kind of unfair because in many ways the rules of the game are sort of like the physics emulator, of the kind of the VR environment you're kind of creating in your own minds in this little shared experience. It might not necessarily dictate the rate at which things fall and stuff like that, but it is the framework through which, like, anything that occurs within the game world, especially things that the player characters are directly interacting with, it is those rules that dictate how things operate. And if too many of the NPCs are being built outside of that framework, then they're kind of existing outside of the physics model of that game world, and therefore, in a way, that is actually rather unfair. The NPCs should, as much as possible in any game system, be designed through the exact same kind of set of parameters that the player characters are designed through. Your player characters are obviously going to be much more detailed and have maybe a few extra features that your average NPC is not going to need to take into account, because most of the time they're just kind of there as set dressing or to deliver a few lines, or to be a target for random combat and all that kind of stuff, depending on what kind of adventure you're designing or what the scenario is and all that kind of stuff. But they still have to seem to exist within the framework of the rules in order for them to like have any sort of like I don't know how, you obviously wouldn't use the word reality, but in order for them to have any sort of weight within that virtual environment, sort of a thing. Otherwise, they're just figments. Otherwise, why are you even using a rule system? Why even frame this as a game? You could just, have some friends over to your house, and you could just be dictating a bunch of stuff to them, and then they could be throwing in suggestions as to how the story evolves. But if you're going to be like that, overlording over everything, and just freeballing the entire experience, like, why do you even need any rule books? Why do you need dice? Why not just, play Amber? Why even play Amber? The rules are there for reasons, and your job is not to be a creative writer. Your job is to host and actuate the game. And part of that is playing by the fucking rules yourself. If you can't play by the rules fairly, then why should your why should your players, adhere to the rules fairly? Why shouldn't they cheat? Why shouldn't they lie about their dice rolls, or conveniently forget to knock off hit points, or change what their AC value is if no one's like bothering to actually look on their character sheet to confirm that they're not lying and all that kind of stuff. Tit for tat. What is their motivation to behave quote unquote properly if the person running the game isn't behaving quote unquote properly? So I don't know. I guess that's all I have to say about that.